They can wait. Get married then. Then have your children. You'll have your education. And then the next milestone? Through all this, keep God in it. But more than anything, make sure God's in your life, and your ultimate milestone, your ultimate end of your journey is to make heaven your home. Regardless, education is great. I went to school, then I went back and got another degree. My education is great. I'm thankful that I had the opportunity to go to school. That's a personal choice. You can go or not. It's harder to get a job anymore without a college education. It really is. But that's not going to make you. It's not going to get you to heaven. All the bachelor's or associate's degrees, or all the doctoral degrees that you may have a professor out by your name. When God writes your name in the Lamb's Book of Life, I don't believe it's going to have Dr. So-and-so by it. He's going to call you by your name, Shannon. So remember all the things that you've been taught through your years here at church, at school, but mainly here at church, because that's what's going to get you to your ultimate reward. These other things are great to have, your education, your marriage, children, but your ultimate reward, your ultimate goal should be to make heaven your home. And there's going to be bumps and things that's going to derail you, but that's okay, because you got a church behind you, a church that's standing here ready and willing to help you overcome those obstacles. And again, I believe anybody in here would do that for you. And I'm just going to steal a couple of quotes that Brian said to me. I was listening this morning. Brian, believe it or not. But he said this morning, and I really liked the way you brought out the story of the sower. I've heard it many times before, but I thought you brought out some interesting points. That what the enemy sows looks like good wheat. When you're out in the world, when you're out in college, there was things that I experienced in college, and I'm like, oh my gosh, I can never believe. I was this little country girl from Quicks Run that I didn't get out. When I started going to college and drove to Ashland for the first time, I thought I was something big. Because we just didn't get off the creek. Unless you went to the...
I remember that.
Our free time for me was in the tobacco patch, or the hay field. That's where my free time was. But there's going to be a lot of things out there that's going to look good, it's going to look enticing. Think back to the service that Brian preached this morning about the tares and the wheat, because it'll be pleasing for a season, but then the morning comes, and then you have all of these the responsibilities that you have to take afterwards. The bad seeds, they do get roots, like Brian said this morning, and they do take off and grow. And the bad will crowd the good out. And he mentioned that this morning. Don't mean to restate your sermon, but I thought there were some points really worth mentioning again. A lot of times the people that you hang around with, if you're not careful, you'll start acting like them. Be it good or be it bad. And if you continually hang with those bad people, yes, you can be the positive influence, don't get me wrong, you can. But a lot of times, they're the ones that starts rubbing off on you. So be very careful, the people that you hang out with, the people that you call your friends. Because Satan will take you farther than you ever anticipate going. You start off I'll miss one Wednesday night. To me that Wednesday night wasn't, it's just one Wednesday night, I'd been in church for years, since I was, 4 or 5 years old. Well, it was one Wednesday night, that was nothing. But then it could be another Wednesday night, until it gets into Sunday morning, Sunday night. And then you're doing things that, just one sip, or just one time, and then you're farther than you, and it's harder to get back. It's easier to get in than it is to get out. And remember that anything that takes the place of God is bad, regardless of what it is. We can all put things in our life, and we as adults as well, we can put things in our lives that takes God's place, and that's not good, that's not pleasing to Him. So be careful what you do, because People will try to separate you from God. Even those of us on the work site, there's things that will come up that people will try to separate you. And I've been in positions like that before, when you had to take your stand and you're like, well, do I do what they're telling me to at work, or do I do what I know is right? And you have to make that call. Never give up. No matter what you do, don't give up. I know you all have goals and dreams. Don't give up on those goals and dreams. Persevere. Accomplish those things. But more importantly, if you're not Christians, more importantly than anything, give your life to God, and it makes college so much easier. It makes that first job so much easier. And just one little last thing, and then I've got a note from Wendy if you don't care. But stand still and refuse to retreat. Look at things like God would look at them, and draw upon His power to hold up under the blast or the storm. And if things don't work out at first, don't quit. If you never try, you'll never know how good you can be. So never quit. Never give up. And lastly, just endure to the end. You're 4 or 5, or Shannon, probably you're 10 years of college, or however long it is. Endure to the end. Don't give up. But more importantly, and speaking as a church, or to the church, let's not give up. Let's continue to be that role model for these kids until the day that they roll us up here. That's one thing that I can, I'm glad that Kennedy is old enough to have seen the life that Dad lived. And I hope that there's things in his life that she can draw on and say, well, my papa done that. And I want to do that because he done that. Whether it's, a Sunday school teacher or whatever it may be. And that's what we as a church should do. Because I think we do have a responsibility to these kids. And I hope I'm not misspeaking, that's my opinion. But let's uphold these kids, let's take them to prayer, because college is not easy, guys. And I'm not talking about the coursework. There's things that, like I said, that I was sheltered from in school, and I know things are sheltered from at home, and I know things are a lot worse now. And Josh is younger than I am, and he can stand and tell you some of those things as well. It's easy to be tempted. It's easy to go and try, but remember that God loves you. No matter what you do. Drew asked Wendy one night, he said, "Mommy, will you love me if I go to jail?" And she said, "Well, yes, Drew, I would love you." And she's like, "Oh my gosh, he's already thinking about doing something bad." But then he went on and said, "But would you come and get me?" She said, "No, Drew, I will not." But God loves you, no matter what you've done, where you've been, where you're going. He loves you. Always, always remember this. And speaking for the church, we love you too. We love you. And real quickly, I won't take up much more time, but on behalf of Wendy, if she was here, she would want this done, and you guys probably already know what it is. But I'd like to read to you "Oh, the Places You'll Go" by Dr. Seuss. Congratulations, today is your day. You're off to great places, you're off and away. You have brains in your head, you have feet in your shoes, you can steer yourself any direction you choose. You're on your own, and you know what you know, and you are the guy who will decide where to go. You'll look up and down streets, look them over with care. About some you will say, I don't choose to go there. With your head full of brains and your shoes full of feet, you're too smart to go down,